I mean, this is an issue that's been around almost for decades. Congressional efforts to essentially declare OPEC a cartel, set up this antitrust legislation, that could essentially lead to, sovereign wealth funds being penalized in the United States. Now, this came up again in October when you had the production cut and you had almost dog whistle signals from the White House that they might support NOPEC. That, I think, was a moment when we're very, very concerned about potential passage. Right now, it looks more like posturing by members of the Judiciary Committee, but it definitely is something to watch because it could really be a poison pill in relations between Washington and Riyadh. So again, not something we think is likely at this point, but it definitely bears close watching.
To pick up on Karen's questions, I mean, at the moment, there doesn't seem to be anything on the supply or demand side which is going to knock this range off its current trajectory. So, we know there are plenty of U.S. houses out there who've got oil calls well above $100 a barrel. Is that going to happen later this year? Do you see any shift in this trajectory?
It really depends on what is the dominant narrative. If we were to get past these rate hike concerns, I think there'd be a lot more focus on the demand story. Again, we are seeing clear evidence that China demand is coming back. Indian demand is strong. And you do have OPEC really, I think, standing on the sidelines more to put in a floor at this point. If you did see prices fall significantly, yes, their main meeting is in June, but they do have the monitoring committee meeting almost every 2 months. If we were to see a significant pullback, I would expect OPEC to come back into the market to firm the floor.
In recent years, we've been talking about the U.S. being the swing producer, the shale boom, all the headlines there in recent months questioning whether that shale boom is ending at this point, that the Permian investment is going to be pulling back. So what happens from here if we have some strength in oil prices? The U.S. doesn't carry its same weight as a swing producer.
I mean, OPEC is back in the driver's seat in this market on the supply side, and it really is only going to be a small number of producers within OPEC, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, potentially Iraq at some point, that can deploy barrels and can really move the market. But again, this year, we just don't know which narrative is going to win out. But as we look out to future years, I mean, those are the countries that are investing in spare capacity.
You mentioned UAE, and there's been a lot of news flow in the last 7 days or so whether UAE is in OPEC, it's out of OPEC. There have been denials, but, I think everybody's heard this narrative a couple of times now, and they're wondering if this really is going to have a story that has legs. What do you think?
I mean, UAE has made significant investments in expanding capacity. They have the Murban benchmark. There have been questions about, do they want higher quota numbers? But right now, everything we're hearing is when they look at this market, when they look at a market that is still concerned about recession and rate hikes, everyone is sort of on the same page, better together for this year. We'll see out in future years. But the agreement that they struck in October looks like it's going to be a full year deal at this point.
So best guess on the price through the rest of the year?
I mean, again, we have Brent averaging 95. We do think we do move higher in the back half of the year, but certainly we've been watching the rate hike story. But the other wild card for the market is what happens with Iran. I mean, we do have this really serious situation with Iranian enrichment. They're on the precipice of being a nuclear state in terms of how much enriched uranium they have. The question is, does this crisis, we have Bibi Netanyahu basically saying he's not going to let this stand with Iran. So I would say to pay a very close attention to what happens with that situation as well.